My history regarding Christianity is I am a former Catholic. So, in this sense, I'll be approaching from this angle. And I will be talking through my commentary on the commentary said. I may not agree with everyone's positions, and that could happen. But the point of this is the kind of apologetics used is really quite low bar, and there are some argument on about like zoos which was made zero sense, and this showed the ignorance in terms of the Christian apologetics end.
Welcome, YouTube, to what is either going to be the first of many reaction videos.
Reasons why there are no fairies. The onus is not upon an atheist to say why there is not something. The onus is on a theist to say why there is.
I don't think he understands the words coming out of his mouth. Why are there no fairies? We're not asking if there's fairies, Rich. We're asking if something made the universe. Did something create the car that you drive? Is the Easter Bunny real? This is not a good argument. No. You could be agnostic and say, I don't know if there's a God. But you believe there is no God. That is a belief system. So far, we're 12 seconds in, false dichotomy fallacy, and just shifting the burden. Continue.
Having said that, it is a very interesting question,
Yes.
because a universe with a God would be a very different kind of universe than one without.
How can you know what a universe created by a God would look like versus a universe not created by a God? How can you know? Based on what? How he would have built a universe? Continue.
So the most important reason is there simply are no reasons for the existence of a God. So the reasons against them, which you tick off on your fingers one by one, the alleged reasons why there should be a God, such as the argument from design. Things look so beautifully designed, bananas and apples and things like that, and humans and kangaroos and so on. And they look as though they've been designed because that's what Darwinian natural selection does. It makes them look as though they're designed. It produces a very good simulacrum of design.
Simulacrum, the illusion of design. This is Dawkins' whole justification for why life looks designed, but it isn't. Because Darwin freed us from God, which is exactly what he set out to do. Thomas, Henry, Huxley. Darwin and Huxley, meanwhile, complement each other perfectly. The reclusive Darwin needed a public champion and defender. Huxley had initial difficulty with natural selection itself and opted for an internal source of variation that could produce new species at a stroke. Huxley didn't even believe Darwin. Nonetheless, Huxley saw Darwin's naturalistic, i.e. non-miraculous approach as a valuable aid in his campaign to build an independent, scientific elite unfettered by the constraints of the old order. Which, of course, the old order is Christianity, the Anglican Church and the Catholic Church at that time. So Huxley didn't believe Darwin, but he loved that you could explain a natural formation of humans, which is actually what the humanists have always said. Humanist manifesto, before Darwin's theory took off, and it's a natural process. First rule, religious humanists regard the universe as built of a natural process, not designed. It looks designed, not designed.
This sort of angle of approach kind of misses the point entirely. Well, he is not the most perfect person on all issues. In terms of the character, he himself does raise a good point here. The design argumentation relies exclusively on the verification on the religious claims to be true. The religious claims is not necessarily proven to be true, thus there's no reason to assume religion. And that is what the core point fundamentally is. The whole design argument, therefore, is a massive assumption, even in the most basic religious framework. Because you can assume a God has made the universe if you want. But in attacking the approach of talking about the issue, you yourself cannot necessarily say for sure that God created it. You can say, like, you're going to try and attack holes in the argument that the universe created being different if by a god or non-god. The reality is, we don't actually know what created the universe or how it functions really in its entirety. And that's perfectly fine. If anything, assuming there's no God behind the creation of the universe itself is probably the best approach anyway if you want to actually find out what created the universe. Because then if it leads to an outcome of a God creating the universe, fine. You can prove your claims. But there needs to be the sufficient evidential requirements for it. The same for like design arguments. You yourself, if you are doing it in a apologetic sense, cannot verify anything about it being designed by a creator. You cannot verify that life is designed by a creator either. And as it stands, the theory of evolution still has the most cohesive mindset to the evolution of species than other things currently. If you compare the whole Bible accounts versus evolution accounts makes 1,000,000 times more sense. Because if you actually take on what the Bible says, it'll just lead to stuff which makes no sense and a dead planet.
It's never about science. What does the data say?
Once and for all the argument from design.
The most important reason to not believe in God is that Darwin has exploded the need for a designer. I debate atheists for hours every week. It is remarkable how many people believe in atheism because they think evolution has debunked the need of a creator. And then you ask them for evidence of evolution, and they say, wisdom teeth has nothing to do with evolution. Tailbone, nothing to do with evolution. It's literally just called a tailbone. It's the coccyx, it's necessary. It anchors all the pelvic floor muscles to the skeletal system. Vestigial structures, the appendix. It turns out that the appendix is very important. Your lay atheist has no idea what science even supports evolution. Just that science has gotten rid of God. Darwin exploded the need for a creator. It would be great if Richard Dawkins went on to show the best evidence for evolution here. We know it's not fossils. Stephen Jay Gould, American paleontologist and evolutionary biologist. The extreme rarity of transitional forms in the fossil record persists as the trade secret of paleontology. The evolutionary trees that adorn our textbooks have data only at the tips and nodes of their branches. The rest is inference, however reasonable, not the evidence of fossils. Watch this.
What is the best evidence for evolution?
The best evidence for evolution is considered to be the fossil record. The fossil record. Maybe they don't exist. Random mutation
Itself in the foot, because if you're going to postulate a god as a first cause, you've then got a really big problem explaining where the god came from.
I've debated college students that are much better at defending naturalism than Richard Dawkins is. The first cause argument shoots itself in its foot. You've got a problem of first cause. You have a universe. What was its first cause?
I think some scientist somewhere to explain to me, right, 4 billion years, all right, but then what was there before that?
Well, scientists can't answer that. Scientists take a pride in admitting what they don't know. And they don't know what happened before the Big Bang. They don't even admit that the word before means anything with respect to the Big Bang. Physicists will tell you.
But it has to.
I mean, you sort of like opened a little bit of a door to saying, does the universe need a creator? I would sadly, I would have, Roger mentioned the disappointing idea that the universe will last for infinity years in the future and we'll all be dead. It's also kind of disappointing to say, well, why did the universe exist at all? And the answer is it just did. Stop asking questions like that.
Yeah.
See, you're disappointed. As you predicted.
Yeah, I am disappointed.
So if you want to say the Big Bang event, the Big Bang moment, the beginning of everything, we don't know whether that is right or not. We have room as theoretical physicists and cosmologists to invent new scenarios. So my favorite view of that is that there is a much larger universe that we don't see. That our little universe is a tiny little part of the whole picture, and the whole picture is actually symmetric. That there are people in our past who think that we are in their past. The time runs in the opposite direction for them, as it does
eternally, solves the first mover problem. Does anything he said made any sense? He said, Richard Dawkins, you have a great chance here. You have 2 minutes to convince the world that your belief that there is no God is better than the ignoramus who believes there is a God. Fairies. There's no fairies. There's no God. Darwin exploded God, and now the first mover is a problem for us, but it's not for you? When your answer to that is that you don't know? Science doesn't know?
Primordial simplicity. So the argument from first cause shoots itself in the foot.
No, it doesn't.
Pascal's wager you're better off betting that there is a God, because if you lose the bet, then you go to hell. That's a silly argument, because it depends on, it assumes that you know which God it is for a start. If you bet on Yahweh and it turns out to be Baal or Thor.
Thor. Yeah. Nowhere in the Norse pagan religion does Thor say that if you don't choose him, you're going to hell. Okay? Thor was like why lightning happened. Is it Baal or Thor? What if you choose Baal or Thor or Molech or Ra or Anubis? Or see, they're gone. Our belief system is alive and well, unchanged for thousands of years. It's like Richard Dawkins is like a 5-year-old brat who's just like, can't take my cereal.
This is an issue Christianity uniquely faces as a direct result. You face an issue in the sense that you want to talk about the universe, creation, and all the stuff. But often, a lot of the foundations of your knowledge is not solid, which is what is being got at here. The lack of solid foundations behind any religious claims on the matter is a thing that's preventing you from getting anywhere itself. You cannot get the outcome you want, like linking to like a God behind the universe, if you cannot prove it. And this is the paradox a lot of religion has to deal with. You need to prove God's behind it to get a section of the atheist community to even stand by your claim. It's not that evolution and in this case killed the need for a creator. It's more that the evidence provided by religion is so piss poor that you cannot prove anything by it. If you can't prove anything by it, how can you reinforce any position on it? Because then, let's say you want to talk about the universe. How are you going to talk about the universe exactly? The Bible says basically nothing about the universe. There's nothing in a lot of religious contexts about the universe. Yes, it talks about him being a eternal and omnipresent God. But nothing about the universe itself. And that's the thing that matters here. The universe is absent through a lot of the Christian faith. The solution to try and find out what is the universe is the thing that will require a lot more moving away from assumptions around it. As other points in this section, this is where the here's the thing. You have to understand also that in terms of the person he's trying to rebut, he is more of a biologist and more about biological life. Of course, he's going to speak in certain ways and not going to assume a creator because he's not inherently pro-creation and he cares much more about the science behind how we are. Is it complex? Absolutely. Do we know the answers to some things? Probably not. But you know what? We have the answer to certain things. And we should strive to seek other answers rather than just assuming.
That's all one needs to say.
Well, that'll tie us back to the Alex O'Connor video.
He kind of determined through scientific diagnosis. And it just didn't add up to me. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't work for me. It just didn't add up. I mean, I guess, what's the famous watch on the beach analogy of God?
Yeah, the teleological argument.
Yes. If you're walking along a beach and you see a perfectly functioning Swiss watch, you're not going to go, oh, wow, all of these elements just fell together here on this beach and created this beautiful, perfect watch that's incredibly, you'd be like, someone made the watch.
Yeah.
When I deeply imagine a three-dimensional universe made of, energy, but, matter and atoms and dark matter, and there was a big bang, and there's galaxies, and that it just happened, it just existed, it just sprang into existence, and that there are, physical laws. And then somehow out of that, chemistry became biology. And
See, this is important because basically Richard Dawkins just hand waved this away. You believe in fairies? No, it's the intuitive logical deduction that if there's something, that something created it. And if there appears to be design, that there's a designer. This is an intuitive deductive process. So the guy from The Office is saying, I tried to be an atheist, and it didn't add up that this all began to be for no reason, no how, no one.
Stop asking questions like that.
And if you really think about it, how did the Earth end up exactly at the right distance from the sun?
It just did. Stop asking questions like that.
And how come from the perspective of the Earth, the sun and the moon are the same size?
It just did. Stop asking questions like that.
This is what I'm getting at. The principle is there, asking the right questions. But, however, the teleological argument can be really disproven. Because the reality is, the teleological argument is a bit of a bad argument. Here, and that I say that for one clear reason. I just cut this clip earlier than I would because I wasn't let the argument flow more. But I want to just a teleological argument quickly. The point of contention with the teleological argument is that fundamentally you can say the watch has a creator because the watch is a physical object which is not natural. It's made from stuff from nature, but its itemized form is not naturally made. So if you see like a perfect Rolex on a beach or something like that, you can probably truck it back to its original factory foundation. You can probably, it will have value. It can be linked to a store. It can be linked to a human somewhere. I'm sure if you went down the rabbit hole fast enough, you'd get a human who exactly made it. So in the grand scheme of things, the teleological argument in terms of the universe stuff, useless. Because it's like, how do you know as a Christian that the universe was created by God? You just don't. It's like, and you know what was made by human, so yeah, of course, it's human. This is how it is. This is where faith and religion just doesn't, I don't understand. But that's not the point. The other thing about what I want to say is that the questioning about why is the sun and moon where it is, that is a genuinely good question. Like, asking that is good. The next part you should be doing then is doing proper research into how and why.
Energy that we need to exist, including heat and photosynthesis and all the things that happen that cause life. And in the same exact solar system, there's the moon, which isn't a sun. If it were a sun, we'd be nuked. Which we've looked at Mars and other planets. There's no life anywhere else. There's life here. The same processes that would have created life here have happened on other planets. Why aren't there other planets with life? And life is not just single-celled organisms, just amorphous blobs like Darwin believed. No, they're highly, highly complex cities. Each cell, energy transport, waste removal. There's a zoo opened by the chimpanzees, and the humans are an attraction in the chimpanzee zoo. Then I might go, yeah, okay, whatever. We're similar. But that's not happening. And we all know that's not happening. Us being made in the image of the living God is far more likely than the same process that created a banana created us. And we're just that much different than everything else. So good on you to go down into the shallow well of atheism and go, no, nope. This is why Richard Dawkins saying fairies isn't sufficient. Because we're not talking about whether or not fairies are real. There's no contingency of fairies being real. There's no contingency of unicorns being real. Or when Leonard Krauss says the flying spaghetti monster. Just nothing is contingent on the flying spaghetti monster. Those are ridiculous things to believe in, but believing that something made this is not a ridiculous thing to believe in. And science hasn't exploded God. These are the kinds of things that atheists should be pondering, and they would be pondering. If you didn't have guys like Richard Dawkins saying, no, smart people don't believe in God. Don't you know science has figured out there is no God? Continue.
creatures were created, and there was paramecium, and then there was, little amoebas and whatnot, and then they evolved into creatures, and somehow we have a creature and we have a large consciousness, and we're having this conversation over this podcast. When I think of the totality of that, without any kind of greater power or energy, it doesn't make sense to me. Not.
So you're saying, Rain, that you believe in fairies? Dawkins logic?
Not just on a cognitive level. It just doesn't make sense in my heart. It doesn't make sense in my life experience. When I picture all of that with some kind of greater unknowable energy beyond time and space coursing through it, it makes total sense to me.
I don't know what he says here, but I'm genuinely curious what Alex O'Connor is going to say to this. He's a thinking man, so I imagine he's going to say something like, yeah, that totally makes sense, which is why I'm more agnostic than atheist. It can be there's something behind this. He's going to have to talk about science. He has to. If he says something like, well, Richard Dawkins says, or something like that, I don't know, what is he going to say?
There are two things to say here. One is that, can we understand how things like emergent conscious experience just appear in this universe if there's no God? But also, can we understand how there's complexity without some kind of creator? On the first point,
that's kind of what he said there.
Aimed over.
All of this is just because people have put atoms in the right order.
Right. There weren't a bunch of molecules in a shoebox, and you.
What else would you expect us to build with? We
closer to accurately recording the time.
Believe somehow, and for some reason, so far, keep elf as he believed. And when you spend that much time in academia, you're a philosopher, and to get around the need of a creator, you need a theory that can justify this. Take those electrical wires over there. Bring the plumbing equipment over there. Now we're going to build this building. In this case, I am DNA, and I am taking the resources and using my energy, which actually does come from the sun, because we get our energy from food, and I'm rebuilding this house. So Alex O'Connor, Charles Darwin, Richard Dawkins, they say, the sun is providing the energy necessary to reverse entropy. Yes, but only via the gene code, through DNA. That science has no answer for how it began to exist. And it looks clearly designed. It's basically a quaternary computer code. Bill Gates says that it's more advanced than any computer code that we've ever created. Okay, let's go back to this.
I am skipping certain parts because he does go on. And I already did a scouting to work out how to get what he's trying to say in a coherent way. So that's fine. Of course, the link will be in for the full video, so you can always watch the full video. But the point of this is that this is why I say religious apologetics is redundant. Because what is he actually answering here other than wasting people's time? I'm doing this to talk about and highlight what exactly they are doing in terms of narrative techniques. But am I the one being like, let's go say God isn't real? No. It's these people who are saying that, who are adding with supreme confidence that their God is so, and their religious claims is so. They are inherently acting in an unscientific way towards the matters they are talking about. They want to talk about the natural development. They want to talk about the universe, the stars, the sun, the moon, whatever, and even DNA. But what are they actually answering by this? By saying it might be the sign. It's got that perfect look for design. But the thing about design is this. You are not designed, it may look and have the functions of an advanced measures. But rather than, again, looking at the thing okay, it's God. Rather, look at it from a sense of this. What is it more likely to be that caused it? Is it most likely caused by God, or is it most likely caused by other things? Actually look into it. Do not assume anything on the matter. There's not really much to say than that necessarily, because it's going on about random bullshit. And I think I might end at that anyway, because I'm sorry you got the point of this. Comment below what you thought of the video.